Hey guys, welcome back to OrmsTV. Now, as 2022 winds down and we put the year that was in the rearview mirror, we figured it's a good idea to look ahead. Look at what 2023 might bring. Now, nothing that we're going to discuss here has been officially confirmed, but maybe we have some insight that some people do not. And we're going to take you guys through what might be released in the coming year, or at least what we think and what we hope will be released in the coming year.
Yeah, so let's say goodbye to 2022 and let's see what big brands like Fuji, Canon, Nikon and Sony is going to bring us for 2023. So let's kick it off with probably the most obvious, biggest elephant in the room when it comes to rumors, and something that was leaked quite a while back actually, is from Nikon. So when the Z9 launched and there was massive stock shortages, there was already clients saying, I'll rather wait for a Z8. Even though there was no rumors about it, but now it seems to be kind of confirmed.
Yeah, so Nikon pretty much leaked their entire lineup of what's coming. So, I mean, I say Nikon, but we don't know if it's actually Nikon or, you know, some insider or something who got their hands on it. But they've got a whole slew of cameras coming in 2023, apparently. And the first one that stands out, definitely the Z8. Now, the Z7, when that first came out, was kind of supposed to be the replacement for like the D850 series of cameras, but it wasn't really. It was aimed at a bit of a different market. And the Z8 that's rumored to be coming is supposed to be a direct replacement for a Nikon D850. So we're probably looking at something with about 61 megapixels. Now, because remember, a lot of their sensor tech, you know,
From Sony,
is
right?
from Sony, indeed. So we'll probably see a similar kind of megapixel count to what we get from the Sony big boys.
Yeah,
And
like the A7R5.
absolutely, absolutely. And obviously that'll be coupled with a lot of the autofocus technology that they pushed out in the
Yeah.
Z9.
And everybody is looking for that. They want that autofocus performance down to the lower models.
Absolutely. And also it's kind of what everyone else is doing. You know, we saw it from Canon now where you're literally getting like R3 autofocus, but in like the R7 and R10.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense for Nikon to go down the same kind of route and give you that type of performance. And that would be really interesting to see, like almost like a Z9 kind of camera, but in a smaller pro level body. I'd be very keen on something like that.
Now, sticking with Nikon, there's definitely sort of a gap in their sort of mid-range mirrorless bodies. Now, we all know the DSLR D500 did very well, especially in the wildlife community.
Yeah.
And there's a massive gap there with Nikon's range.
Yeah, absolutely. So we know that Canon is doing the R7.
Yeah.
And it's doing really well.
Super popular.
And right now, Nikon doesn't really have anything to counter it. So the rumor is that Nikon is effectively going to release an updated D500, but obviously mirrorless.
With the Z mount.
With a Z mount and all the mirrorless autofocus tech, again, I'm assuming coming down from the Z9.
Yeah.
And that's kind of perfect.
Yeah, and if we look at the D500 was like a baby D5.
Yeah.
So maybe we get a Z90, which is a baby Z9, and that would be beast. That would be ultimate.
Yeah,
right?
and that would make perfect sense. And we've kind of seen them leaning in that direction, I want to say, with their lenses that they've released. Like they've released some telephoto lenses, a couple of super teles as well. And at the moment, it's kind of only the Z9 that caters to people who would use that kind of glass within their lineup. And it would be really amazing to see a Z90 come out, or a Z500 or whatever they end up calling it. I think that would be phenomenal. It would slot into their lineup perfect. Now, pivoting a little bit from sort of replacing older cameras, I think there's a couple of cameras in Nikon's lineup that aren't necessarily old, but they're definitely feeling a little bit long in the tooth and could probably do with a refresh. And I'm going to kick it off with the Nikon Z5.
Yeah, I think when you look at the market and seeing the tech that's available out there, the Z5 definitely needs an update. Hopefully they look at the market and see that they shouldn't cripple the speed of this new version that might be coming. I would love a sort of an entry-level full frame that can at least shoot like 10 frames a second.
100%. And again, stick with the same philosophy as what we see from other manufacturers. Have that trickle down.
Yeah.
You know, get the good stuff at the top, and as the technology matures, move it down throughout the range. So I'd love to see a Z5 II full frame, entry-ish level price point, but giving us a bit of a bump in megapixels would be really nice. A bump in speed as well, because I think that's where the Z5 is stuck at the moment.
Sure, yeah.
And a bump in autofocus and video performance, because it's definitely lagging behind there a little bit. Not to say that it's not a popular camera. They sell really well, and I think that is a reason why it needs to be updated.
Now, sticking with video, the Z6 as well.
Yeah.
It's reaching that sort of limit, and looking at what the market again is out there, I think the Z6 III for sure.
Definitely. So
Hopefully raw internal video recording, maybe?
yeah, like when they did from the Z6 to the Z6 II, wasn't really a massive upgrade.
Almost felt like a software update.
Yeah, so like a firmware update, but with 2 card slots. And I think that's where Nikon lost a bit of that like momentum that they had when they started in the mirrorless realm, and it sort of stagnated a little bit. And going for a Z6 III, and at the same time, just throw it out there, a Z7 III would really help a lot. Like, I really think going down that road would aid in their development and their rollout plans. And give us what we want, you know? So in the Z7 III, if they bring it out, you know, give us a nice bump in megapixels. Give us a bump in video performance. Give us a bump in autofocus performance. And then maybe create a slightly more pronounced split in your lineup and make the Z6 III a fast camera, firstly, you know, and something that would compete with maybe the likes of the Canon R6 II, you know, give that video performance that we crave in the Nikon lineup and work that into your Z6 III and create that bit of separation. And I think if they can nail that, they could have a winning formula on their hands.
Now, as some of our viewers might know, we kind of really enjoy the Fuji old school tactile feel on their cameras, right? Now, Nikon had a camera a couple of years ago. It was called the DF. It did all right in the market. I think the styling was on point. I think they maybe they didn't do like proper marketing on it to aim it at certain users, but we might be seeing a Z mount version of that body possibly coming soon.
Yeah, rumor has it that there is going to be a Nikon ZF, you know, so pretty simple naming convention. And they already have the ZF-C, so pretty much a full frame version of that camera and a little bit more premium. Now, again, as with pretty much everything else on this list, if they can pull it off, like, it would be an absolute win. But there would have to be a couple of sort of caveats to it. They would have to nail the feel of the camera.
Yeah.
And I think that's something where the current ZF-C
Struggled with.
It definitely does, but also it is at a certain price point. So, you know, you give and take.
You can give it that sort of magnesium, like metal feel in that sort of price point.
Absolutely. If they go full frame, they really could. And I would like to see them go all the way. Don't hold back. You know, if you're gonna have a new sensor in your Z8 that's going to come out, give us that sensor.
Yeah.
Give us that level of technology, but in that old school body. Literally take a page out of Fuji's book. Give the latest tech you have, but bring it down. And I think if they can do that, they can have a little market segment all to themselves. Because Fuji doesn't have full frame in that style, nothing over there. The only other guys who kind of play in that realm is Leica, and that's at a completely different price point.
Pricey.
Yeah. So if Nikon can come in right in the middle there, yeah, could be a little beast.
Now, going to probably my favorite brand for 2022 is going to be Canon. They launched big hitters this year, and I think next year is going to be the same. They're going to take their RF mount and they're going to take it to the next level, and they're going to bring out some heavy bodies, right?
Absolutely. And I think something that everyone's waiting for, and that we, like, let's be honest, we all know it's coming.
Yeah, I mean, when the R3 launched, we looked at the specs and we're like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
Where's the R1?
Exactly. There needs to be an R1.
Yeah.
And probably the worst kept secret in this industry is that one is in development and it's on its way, and it'll probably be in 2023, because I don't think they can wait much longer with it, because the demand is there. Like, everybody's waiting for that camera. But there's no real specs or anything out there for it. So I would like to put it to you. What would you like to see in an R1?
Now, I know a long time ago, even I think it was possibly Photokina, there was sort of talk about a high resolution sensor that Canon was working on. And it was a couple of years ago, I think. And
Indeed.
was it 80 megapixels?
I think they had a 75 and a
Yeah.
100 megapixel sensor at some of them.
Now, we haven't seen a camera with that. So let's maybe call it 75 megapixels R1.
75 megapixel R1 with a 30 frame per second burst.
Which would be crazy data transfer.
Yeah, I mean, industry leading by every stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
Okay. 8K video in there, like I want everything. Just
Yeah.
give me everything. Give me every form of autofocus tracking.
No limitation.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. Just give me all of it. And that's kind of what the 1D and the 1DX and all of those cameras always were. It was the pinnacle of speed and performance that was available
Yeah.
at the time. And I mean, the R3 is no slouch, but it's just not quite there.
It's missing that high res, you know?
Absolutely. And I'm gonna start sounding like a cliche over here, but if Canon gives us literally everything that we want, it's gonna be a hit. No
Yeah.
two ways around it. The downside, though, is gonna be price point.
It's not going to be an affordable body for sure. As we come to expect from flagships, you know? Like,
Yeah, I mean, we already see where the R3 is at. You know, if they bring out an R1 and it's 30-40% more expensive than where the R3 is at, it's going to be a tough sell. But if they bring that technology that they've been teasing for years now, if they actually bring that stuff to market, like, it could be the next benchmark that everyone else has to aim for and try to get at. And that would really be something to see, like a camera that few can afford, but everyone can lust after. Can't wait for that. So if we just keep working our way down the lineup, there's a couple of other Canon cameras that would be very cool to see come out, and stuff that's been rumored that we are definitely going to get. And I think a very good place for Canon to start in 2023 would be replacement of their first R mount cameras, the R and the RP.
yeah, those has been in the market for quite some time now. And
2018, I think, yeah.
And it was kind of like Canon's first mirrorless full frame. So I think it's definitely due for replacement. And I think the RP, again, similar to the Nikon Z5, they definitely need to bump up the speed of these cameras. We know it's possible. We know it's possible to capture 10 frames a second with a process that's available on the market. So we would love to see these entry-level full frames go to 10 frames a second.
Absolutely, and just keep trickling down the special sauce that's already in the market, the technology that they already have. We don't want everything, just give us enough to keep us happy.
Don't limit the client base too much.
No, and if you look at their lineup, the R and the RP, so it's been around since 2018, if memory serves. And at that stage already, the R and the RP were already kind of old-ish cameras. I mean, the RP is essentially the same sensor from the 6D Mark II. The R is the sensor from the 5D. So that technology is really starting to age. And if you pick up an EOS R right now, the control scheme isn't quite there. It's just not where their current R cameras are at. So just update that thing.
For sure.
Just bring us that update. So higher megapixel than the R6, but below the R5, because your R5 kind of is there in its own little spot. you know, give us that kind of stills focused,
Yeah.
just working camera. And I think like that could be a very nice option to have. And then RP at a more affordable full frame rate. And yeah, like I think that would flesh out the lineup really nicely.
Now, talking about gaps as well, I mean, there is kind of a gap in the sort of entry-level market with Canon at the moment. Yeah, they do have some DSLRs, and we know about the M series, like the M50, super popular, probably one of the best sellers.
Yeah.
But we all know that the RF mount is the future.
Yeah.
So saying that, there's probably going to be something like a R100 or something like that that's going to be aimed probably at video and photo content creators. Maybe it will miss a viewfinder to reduce costs.
Yeah.
Make the camera small, appealing to guys doing Instagram videos, YouTube videos, and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw Sony and Nikon go down that route.
For sure.
So with the ZV-E10 and the Z30 respectively, and those cameras are selling phenomenally well. And it's at that entry-ish level price point where kind of DSLRs have now fallen away completely and people want to get into the lineup and start using that mount. And the R100 has been rumored for a while now already, and it's probably going to be without a viewfinder and that kind of thing. But I would really love to see something that comes in sort of where the M50 and the M6 Mark II and those cameras were.
Yeah.
So small, compact body, but with a viewfinder, APS-C sensor, and well below the R10 in the price range. So make it slower, make it less than megapixels, do whatever needs to be done to get that price point down.
Yeah.
So that there's something for people entering the market. Because
Especially students, you know?
absolutely, as you rightly said, there's still a couple of DSLRs floating in Canon's lineup. But if you buy over there, then it's a complete transition when
Yeah.
you want to upgrade. And they need to at some point get rid of that.
For sure.
And just go mirrorless is the way forward, and we need to give people a point of entry.
Start investing in the RF mount from the get-go, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've seen them releasing more and more kind of entry level, or I want to say entry level, cost effective lens options for those cameras when they do arrive. When you have your 600 and your 800 f11, your 100, 400 options that's out there. Stuff like your 16mm, your 50mm, your RFS, you know, lens options that are out there now. Just give us some more cameras for that, and their lineup will be complete.
Pretty solid.
Very.
Now jumping to Sony, there's been waves in the market with Sony. I mean, we have so much of our pro clients switching over from various brands to Sony, and they've been making a huge splash in the wildlife game and that sort of market. And that was purely because of the A9 II and the A1. Those were machines for wildlife.
Yeah.
The autofocus was on the next level. Those bird tracking and animal tracking was one of the best. And having a 50 megapixel sensor and an extremely good, fast, low light machine like the A9 II was perfect. But again, it's reaching that sort of time period now where we want better. We want better technology from Sony. We know we can get it. You've played with the A7R5, and that autofocus is amazing, right?
Yeah.
And that new AI system is perfect. Now we want to see that maybe in the newer bodies.
Yeah, so I know it sounds like the A1 is a new camera, because when I talk about it, it feels like it's a relatively new camera. But it's like 2.5 years old already, which for Sony is quite a long time. Like they tend to replace cameras relatively quickly.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe an A1 II out in the market, a bump in megapixels, because we've seen that 61 megapixel sensor floating around, and the quality that's coming out of that is just miles ahead of what's in there right now. And give us that, the same kind of speed. I don't think you need to go much faster in the A1.
30 frames is so much. Like, I don't think that's gonna go more in the industry.
The only reason why I think Sony might go for an even faster frame rate is if that Canon R1 drops.
Oof.
And Sony goes, whoa.
They feel that pressure.
They feel the pressure.
Feel the pressure.
Absolutely. So high megapixels, autofocus system out of the A7R5. Okay, beef up the video a little bit. And yeah.
So that'll be A1 Mark II or
A1
version
Mark
2.
Yeah.
And
one more thing that I'd like to see in there though. Right now, it's essentially an A7 body. I would really like to see Sony step it up and go for a
sort of flagship,
body,
like a flagship
body. Yeah, absolutely. So give us the Canon 1DX, Nikon D5, D6 type of body.
Yeah.
Integrated grip, much more battery power out of that thing. You know, a faster potential drive in there, and size it up, make it chunkier, make it easier to hold.
Beefier,
Yeah, because you're gonna buy a camera like that. You're gonna put a 600 f4, a 400 2.8, some teleconverters on there. I mean, you're gonna have massive lenses.
Yeah.
So what if the body is nice and big? Go for it.
And then make the A9 version 3 like your slightly smaller, better low light, smaller megapixel, more cost-effective alternative to a wildlife shooter.
Absolutely. Ultra fast, lower megapixels, fine. Less video performance,
Smaller body.
fine. Smaller body.
Yeah.
You know, nothing wrong with that kind of approach. Again, we see it in other manufacturers.
It's funny, I actually never thought of why Sony doesn't have a big flagship built-in battery grip camera. So I think the A1 version 2 would be perfect if they do that. That's a really solid point, actually.
Yeah, I would really love to see them go there
Yeah.
and make a bigger separation between the A1 series and the A9 series.
Yeah.
Aim it at different markets. Why not? Cover your bases.
Now, maybe jumping a little bit more down the line in terms of Sony's range, A7C has been out. I mean, personally, it's a decent camera. It's got good specs. They kind of market it as like the smallest full frame on the market.
Yep.
But I think people want that like viewfinder, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And the A7C as it is right now is essentially an A7 III. You know, internals just with a slightly different body style. And they can do the exact same thing. Just give us an A7 IV, which is an amazing camera, great performance, and just make it into a smaller, more compact body, exactly as they did. I agree with you, it's not my kind of thing. I'm not a big fan of the offset viewfinder in my more serious cameras, but I know that a lot of people absolutely love it and love the compactness that comes with that form factor. Give us that. Nothing, no need to tweak anything. Just update the body slightly. That brand new menu, because the A7C still has the old menu. Yeah. Give us the new menu and essentially all the internals out of the A7 IV. No complaints.
So what about the APS-C side, sort of range? Because I feel like that's where Sony's biggest weakness is in their market.
Yeah.
Is their sort of entry to mid-tier photographic solutions. Because there's a 6400, there's a 6600.
Older.
Those are quite old now. The autofocus on them is decent, but it's not to the current sort of market technology. And I mean, I would love to see a Sony APS-C size sensor, but in an A7 style body. It's almost like, it's like preparing their clients for like, this is a full frame camera, this is what a full frame camera feels like, but with a crop sensor in the body, you know?
Yeah, and again, it's been rumored for a number of years already that they are going to do that, and it's just never arrived. And now would kind of just be the perfect point for them to drop that. I mean, they've gotten all of this A7 cameras, the A9, the A1, all of those units out there, and people are absolutely loving it. And then the moment you're in the sort of the entry point into their market, it's a completely different body layout. It doesn't really line up quite the way it should. Maintain that layout because you have the ZV E10, okay? So maybe a replacement for the A6400 could have that body style with the offset viewfinder and slightly smaller. And then a replacement for the A6600 could be literally in an A7 body.
That would be first prize, yeah, for sure.
That would be absolutely amazing. And maybe one last thing that I'd like to see, because Sony's never really played in that market. I would like to see something even below the ZV-E10 in their line. A real entry point, a real camera that will get the masses on board with Sony and get them into that lineup. You know, like we kind of know Canon is going to do, you know, in that R100 rumored type of area. Maybe Sony should do the same thing and, you know, really give a proper entry point.
But keep the viewfinder on the camera.
Ooh, I know, but then pricing becomes tricky.
You need the viewfinder for those photographic students.
Yeah, I know, you do.
Let's see what they do.
Yeah.
So jumping to one of the brands that we really do love, and we've owned many of their cameras, is Fuji. Now, Fuji has launched a couple of big hitters this year, and we're probably not expecting anything in their sort of mid to pro range.
No.
But there's a big gap in the entry-level market for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the XT200 has been out for a while. Personally, I think if they do bring out a new XT300 or something in that range, try not to make the body too entry-level and too plasticky, too light, because it gives it like that sort of like more cheapish feel, and that's not accustomed to Fuji. When you pick up a Fuji camera, it's a solid body, you know?
Correct. So I would like to see something in the kind of XS10 line maybe, because it, you know, it feels a bit more premium, it feels a bit more solid, you know, so maybe something there, but lower in the range, you know, at a more affordable price point. And then the other thing I'd really like to see is an XT40.
Okay.
Because I've always been a really big fan of the slightly smaller, you know, video. Now, I mean, I know I just did a review on the XT5 and I complained that it's too small for me, but I really like that smaller XT30 like it is right now. I really enjoy it. And it's at such a nice price point within their market that it's just kind of almost the perfect little camera to have with you everywhere you go.
They just need to move that Q button from the thumb position away.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
They do that.
100%. But give us an XT40 and then give us a nice, solid entry-level camera within that range. And that's pretty much what I'm expecting within their APS-C lineup. The other thing that I think that they will bring out in this coming year is a new GFX. Now, not necessarily a GFX 100 replacement, because I think that still stands pretty solid, but maybe a 50 replacement, because the 50 isn't really doing much at the moment. It's kind of older technology, and they've just kind of replanted it into a newer body. And I think bringing out a new GFX 50, so like a affordable medium format camera, that could be quite a sweet move for them.
And hopefully with the new processing power we'll have available this year, they'll improve autofocus speed.
Within that GFX series, I would love to see some phase detect in there. Please, Fuji, get rid of the contrast detect. It's gone.
Now jumping to another brand, GoPro. Now we all know GoPro has just launched their 11, but we are focusing more on the 360 model. And the reason I say that is Insta360 has been giving GoPro a massive run for their money.
Absolutely.
There used to be a time where nobody could touch GoPro, and their app and their software was like the best. But I think Insta360 is really like giving GoPro a run for their money. And we've been seeing the numbers in terms of the X3 model, and it's so popular. Like, everybody loves it. The app is phenomenal. It does amazing editing on the app as well. So I think GoPro will probably launch like a new Max or a new 360 model that'll compete quite well with the Insta360 model.
Yeah, I think they don't have a choice, because that GoPro Max is really long in the tooth now. It's really getting a bit outdated. So bringing that out for the Insta360 as a competition, perfect move. And then, I mean, we know there'll be a Euro 12, you know, because
at the end of the year,
because
like always,
around September, like every single year, and nothing wrong with that. You know, you need your updates.
You got to do what you got to do.
Absolutely, but the the key here is if they actually compete in that 360 market.
Yeah. So that's pretty much our video on cameras that we're expecting for 2023, and there's some pretty solid rumors backing them up as well. We would like to thank our host here, Burger and Lobster in Cape Town. Just come check it out. It's a really cool spot, and yeah, thanks for the beer.
Yeah, and guys, as always, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to drop it a like and subscribe to our channel for more content just like this. And let us know in the comments anything that you think we'll be seeing in the coming year. We love hearing from you guys. Until next time, cheers.